The Boys presents Varsity, the college spin-off everyone's been waiting for. It's been 5 days since season 3 of The Boys came to a conclusion, and we still can't stop thinking about it. The action, the drama, the plot twists, Butcher and Homelander teaming up is something we didn't know we needed until we saw it with our own eyes. But the one thing that The Boys season 3 was rather light on was its signature comedy.
Daddy's home.
Don't get us wrong, that isn't to say there weren't funny moments this season. Just look at the Herogasm section of the Herogasm episode for more on that. But the tone was decidedly darker than it had been in the first couple of seasons. It made us wish for something more rambunctious, more rebellious, more collegiate. And we won't have to wait too long to get that kind of comical depravity back in our lives. Because according to showrunner Eric Kripke, not only will The Boys Varsity be dropping on schedule, it will also be influencing the events of the overall Vought Cinematic Universe. The premise of Supes in College already had us hooked, but the prospect of crossovers with the main show has us salivating in the mouth. So, without further ado, this is all you need to know about The Boys Varsity, the college spin-off that we've all been waiting for. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What is Varsity all about? So, you know how The Boys is a satire on corporate and celebrity culture as a whole, right? You don't? Didn't you see the Deep's rendition of Imagine? Or the filming of Dawn of the Seven? Or literally anything Ashley does in all 3 seasons? Come on guys. Okay, kidding aside, The Boys doesn't hold its punches when it comes to exposing the greasy underbelly of power structures in the world. But the one thing it doesn't do is lighthearted. There's a lot of heavy emotional psychological stuff in there that, if not conveyed through the medium of black comedy, would have given us sleepless nights. But here's the thing about The Boys, it focuses on adults playing their own twisted game of chess to see who comes out on top of who. Okay, we know how that sounds, but you have to admit that it isn't an inaccurate description of the series. And it also would be correct for The Boys Varsity, but that's where the similarities end. Because where The Boys is a drama at its core, Varsity has all the potential to be a black comedy gold with dramatic moments peppered in between. And we say that because the very premise of this series is, drumrolls please, college. That's right folks, if the name Varsity was not a dead giveaway, then the January 2022 edition of 7 on 7 with Cameron Coleman should have given you a hint, as that was where Godolphin University School of Crime Fighting was first referenced. And if that name rings a bell for you comic book fans out there, then you're not far off the mark here, because it is indeed an adaptation of the G-Men from Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson's original work. To know more about that particular team of Supes, go check out our G-Men spin-off series video where we break down the team, their leader John Godolphin, the role they played in the comics, and how the show might adapt their story, because trust us when we say Varsity is going to be nothing like the G-Men from the comics, and that is a great thing.
Sir, happy birthday. I'm
Supersonic, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Great to meet you.
You too.
How did the spin-off come about? It came into fruition of the success of the second season of The Boys. Following its conclusion, Amazon announced a live-action spin-off series within a couple of months. Though it was untitled at the time, that September announcement did mention that this series would be irreverent, R-rated series that explored the lives of hormonal, competitive Supes as they put in their physical, sexual and moral boundaries to the test. And that was enough to rope us in, if we're being honest. Because the idea of The Boys at college is endlessly fascinating to us, and given series creator Eric Kripke's claim that the portrayal of the environment would be as realistic as possible, our hopes were high from the very onset. In an interview with The Wrap, he explained that the spin-off wasn't exactly an intentional creation. It was more of a rap session between him, Seth Rogen, and Eric Goldberg, executive producers of The Boys, and they really liked the idea of diving deep into college culture and really bringing a youthful sense of delight and terror at the same time to the franchise. And so they pitched the idea to Amazon, and they agreed to greenlight the project, thus giving birth to Varsity. At the time, Kripke described the show as being loosely inspired by the G-Men from the comics, but stated that no characters would necessarily spin off into the series, and that it would simply be connected to the larger VCU. But it looks like he's changed his mind on the subject, because in interviews following the Season 3 finale, he has stated that crossovers between the two shows would be inevitable. We saw evidence of this in the same 7-on-7 segment we referred to earlier, where we learned that Queen Maeve, A-Train and The Deep were all alumni of Godolphin University, and that they were drafted to New York City and the Seven when it was time for them to graduate. If you can't tell already, GU is run by Vought International, a major departure from the comics, and has already been referenced and included in Easter eggs all throughout the entire run of the boys so far. In Season 1, Billy Butcher brought up the G-Men and Nubian Prince was referenced multiple times. His wife Nubia is an original member of the G-Men in the comics. In Season 2, we saw the #G2 movement gathering steam in the background of Victoria Newman's meteoric rise to prominence on national TV. In the YouTube web series 7-on-7 with Cameron Coleman, we found out about Vought Annual Hero Draft and one of the frontrunners to win the whole thing. And in Season 3, we saw several members of the G-Men taking part in the American Hero reality TV show. All of these things have been laid out in preparation for the arrival of the young heroes of Godolphin University to our screens in 2023. And though the series spent 2 years in pre-production, filming has been going strong since May 2022 and is expected to wrap up by October. But that's how the show came about. Let's now talk about who's going to be in the show, shall we?
With only 3 contestants left, who will join the 7? Will it be Supersonic?
What do we know about the cast so far? Casting for Varsity has been a bit all over the shop, given the series changed creative direction midway into pre-production. As we've noted before, Eric Kripke did not necessarily intend for a crossover, but because of the events that took place in Season 3, we feel like he had no choice but to tie in both shows with a stable, shared narrative base. If you've seen any of our videos on The Boys in recent times, you will know that we predicted that Season 4 will probably not come out next year, given that Varsity was already slated for a 2023 premiere. The only question we had after making that prediction was whether Varsity would tie into it or not, given Kripke stated it wouldn't in 2020. But now that it's clear that both shows are going to have a crossover and that their stories, while different, will have certain shared narrative points, we are glad to have clarity on why certain stars left the cast while others stuck by it. Lizzie Broadway and Jazz Sinclair were the first members of the main cast to be assigned their respective roles. They were brought on board in March of 2021, well before anyone else, and are most likely set to play the lead protagonists of the show because Sinclair's character has already made her soft debut in the VCU, thanks to Huey's visit to Red River Institute in Season 3, and Broadway's character is named Emma Shaw, which is very reminiscent of a certain mutant from the X-Men comics. If she is meant to be a parody of Emma Frost, it will be very interesting to see just how her character impacts the show. Apart from these two, only Maddie Phillips remains from the original cast of The Boys. After an entire year of now filming activity, Shane Paul McGee, Amy Carrero and Raina Hardesty left the cast to pursue other ventures. McGee was replaced by Chance Podermo, and London Thor took Hardesty's place in the lineup of what we are guessing is going to be the new G-Men in the series. Derek Liu, Asa German and Shelley Kahn also joined the cast as series regulars in May 2022, although nothing has been revealed about their characters or their roles in the story so far. But given the fact that they are going to be series regulars, we have no doubt that we'll find out soon enough. Now that we've introduced you to the main cast, let's get on to the recurring players in this story, starting with Patrick Schwarzenegger, who has been cast as, well, the literal golden boy of the story. Golden Boy is a 22-year-old GU freshman with the highest prospects of winning the Vought Annual Hero Draft and has been described by Vought as an exceptionally calm and stoic character. So you guys know he's going to be one crazy SOB and probably the major antagonist of the series. Other than that, we have Marco Pigossi, joining the cast as Dr. Edison Cardosa, and Sean Patrick Thomas bagging the role of Polarity, a Supe with a sensational backstory and a relationship with his father that mirrors the one between A-Train and Nate, at least on paper. This isn't Thomas's first outing with the boys, as he portrayed one of the male hostages in the season finale of the animated show Diabolical. But speculation as to whether he plays the same character or not can be answered by simply watching that episode, because only Homelander and Black Noir make it out of that chemical plant alive, and Thomas's character, well, doesn't. By the look of things, Polarity is going to be either a speedster or the Magneto of this story. Either way, he'll be the one to keep an eye out for, as will Golden Boy, but the reason behind his relevance to the story will be far more intriguing for the simple reason that he isn't the first person we've seen with his particular set of powers.
Nubian Prince. Fits your population's demo, but not too militant.
How will Varsity connect to the boys, and will we see characters cross over? Well, we have been hammering home the point that Varsity will be a tie-in show for the VCU, so we might as well explain how that will happen, and why Golden Boy might be the key to it all. Because in all the promotional material Amazon has put out about him so far, his powers have simply been defined as thermonuclear, and the one image we have seen of him so far is suspiciously similar to Soldier Boy's Y-flying chest blasts. Which leads us to think that the two boys might link up at some point in time, because Eric Kripke explicitly brought up Soldier Boy as a plot point they will explore through the medium of Varsity, alongside a couple of other things too. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly following the conclusion of Season 3, he revealed that while the focus of Varsity will be on capturing a realistic college experience, it will be set in the purview of the events that took place in Season 3, which basically means that, yes, the boys and Varsity will be connected, and he even went so far as to say it will be on the level of the MCU shows on Disney+. Kripke told Deadline that he really respects Kevin Feige for what he has done with the MCU, because he personally found out just how difficult it is to weave together two standalone shows with intertwining plot points, basically confirming that will be the case. And in the same interview, he mentioned two of the biggest cliffhangers from Season 3. 1. How will the presidential election unfold now that Neumann is involved? And 2. Will Soldier Boy wake up again? Based on Kripke's statements, it looks like we'll find out the answers to both of those questions, and in the case of the latter, it might even involve Golden Boy, because, as we've already mentioned, their current powers are oddly identical, and that might just be an intentional thing. And if the stories are going to overlap, it is inevitable that characters from the main show will show up in the spin-off, and we are going to go ahead and predict some for you guys. Anthony Starr will invariably end up being a part of Varsity, simply because he has reprised Homelander's role across all iterations of the character, and Season 3 ended with a brewing conflict between his supporters and those that supported Starlight. Expect to see that tribalism cross over into Godolskin University, though be heavily skewed in favor of Homie given his status as the current unofficial head of Vought. We wouldn't be surprised to see a few Homelander fanatics either, though spotting storm chasers is our biggest concern when it comes to such things. We might also see A-Train and the Deep turn up to show the kids their ropes and further their own plots within the extended franchise. Maeve is unlikely to show up in Varsity, but she will definitely be a part of Season 4 of The Boys. Someone who's also likely to show up in Varsity is Victoria Neumann, the correct VP pick for Dakota Bob Singer, and the head-popping Supe who stands to gain immense political power thanks to Homelander. She might show up as a lecturer, a guest on a TV show, as an assassin. It's hard to pin down how, but we are sure she will be there. And as for the rest of the main cast, it is quite possible that we might see the boys turn up for a cup of coffee amongst all this college madness, but we aren't sure how that will figure into the story yet. The only thing that comes to our mind is if they run a sting operation of John Godolkin in an attempt to expose a connection between him and Newman. But that is reaching too far with nothing to go on, so we won't go there for now. Having said that, Varsity will be an intriguing bridging point between Season 3 and 4 of The Boys, and we can't wait to see what Kripke and company have come up with.
Oh, come off it. What you gonna do with it?
Marvelous verdicts. what you can expect from Varsity. You can expect the show to act as the perfect, exuberant companion piece to The Boys. We can tell you that much, because Eric Kripke has already said that some of the events that happen in Varsity will carry over to Season 4 of The Boys, thus making it essential viewing. But more than that, you can expect this series to be a bit more relatable, because in The Boys, the only person you kind of relate to is Starlight, apart from the human characters of the show, of course. Unless you're a Homelander supporter, in which case you are right, and hail Homelander! But Varsity, with its youthful cast and its college setting, can become the perfect medium for exposing just how human these Supes were before they chugged Vought Kool-Aid at max speed. It's a chance for the showrunners to explore how Supes like Maeve end up becoming cynical in the first place, and also why. The Boys presents Varsity is going to be a thrill ride if nothing else, and that is something we are always happy to go on, so fingers crossed. Craig Rosenberg takes us on one hell of a journey. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. And have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.